Thank you. I'm Ron Reagan. On our last show, we heard a lot of theories about UFOs. Now we're going to meet some people for whom UFOs are almost commonplace. They claim to deal with aliens on a regular, if unusual, basis. And when talking about such an elusive subject, I thought it appropriate to make an elusive entrance. So tonight, I had them beam me in. Yes, the magic of television. With us today, Athena Demetrios. She's a makeup artist here in Los Angeles, and Sherry Levy is a nurse who grew up in Los Angeles. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you being here. Levy? Levy? Levy?
Sherry is
Sherry.
fine.
Okay, Sherry. Now, Sherry, you claim that you have actually met extraterrestrials. That they've, well, tell us about it. Why you?
Well, I'm not exclusive. I don't consider myself superior or chosen. I think I'm one of probably a large percentage of the people who populate this planet who have interacted with other races, knowingly or unknowingly.
Okay, I must be on the unknowing side, or maybe they just didn't get to me yet. But I don't want to make fun of this. You know, a lot of people do, and they, you know, maybe want to ridicule you for this. But I believe you're sincere, and I want to know, what did they look like?
Well, I've met with two races. The race that predominantly has been in our lives has been what I'm told are called little grays. They're a race of beings that are diminutive in size.
About yay? Stop me when I get right.
About 4 feet tall. About four feet tall,
okay.
With the exception of one who I call the head honcho, who appears now and then, who can be as tall as 8 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
And
otherwise looks exactly the same as the short guys. Is
exactly.
that right? Okay. And the other race is?
Very much human-like, just like you and I.
Uh-huh. Okay. These gray people, I mean, what do they? What's their skin look like? What do their eyes look like? What are their hands like?
They're not actually gray. Their skin is actually more white, but it appears to me that their internal organs, unlike ours being a whole mishmash of a lot of different colored stuff, it seems they have just very few organs, primarily gray. It looks like the gray matter of our brains.
And how would you know about their internal organs?
Well, because I can see it through their skin. It appears to be very onion skin-like,
So
and I believe that's where it gives the impression that they're gray.
Do they transmit any sort of message to you? Do they talk to you, communicate, what do they say?
In a nutshell?
Well, give me the highlights.
The magnitude. Well, you're asking me a question that reaches through many avenues of life: spiritual, technological, all kinds of things.
Again, let's stick to that. I mean, you could wrap up Christianity and do unto others. So do that with the aliens for me. I mean, what's their primary message seem to be, if you can?
Basically, and I don't claim to have the answers. I want that clear. These are my experiences and the answers as I perceive them. Is that, first of all, they're not new intervening here. They were here long, long ago, and at some point intervened with what we call the human race, Homo sapiens, and did sort of genetic altering to enhance the species that we call. And
they've told you this?
Yes.
Did they say when they did this genetic altering?
It was a long time ago, but I only have a visual picture. I'm not qualified.
Long time ago, like centuries? Long time ago, like thousands of years, millions of years?
When Homo sapiens becoming upright and beginning to learn very, very basics.
So that would be millions, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay. Athena, you too have seen aliens. Did they look like the ones that Sherry describes?
I've had experiences with a couple different races, and I had probably one of the most profound, and before I even get started in that, I have to say that I don't feel like an abductee. I prefer to think of myself as a contactee, because I put out mentally one night for communication. If any existed that I really would like to know, and I'd love to communicate with them. I've always...
And that's when they arrived?
No, it wasn't right then, but it was after. Maybe a month and a half, 2 months after.
You wanted to see aliens
oh, yeah.
first, and then they came.
Well, I've always felt a sense of homesickness when I've looked up at the sky at night. I've always been a real soul searcher, and that's just part of my nature. And I've always really sought to find answers about things. I was in bed one night, and I sat up, and I saw two in the bedroom, and one was walking towards me, and I felt tremendous fear go through my body, almost paralyzed with fear. And then I heard telepathically, "You have nothing to fear." And I made a very conscious decision at that point to go with the wonder, and to allow myself to go with the mystery, and to allow myself to be in awe. And I got up and walked in the other room, and there were 3 or 4 more. There was 2 by the French doors, 1 standing. There was 2 in the bedroom. So there was a total of 5.
Were they the gray species that
well, and I didn't experience them as gray, but their skin, because they are of a much higher vibration, their skin is more translucent. It appears to be where you can see through it a little bit more.
Is that a somewhat accurate model that you have sitting by your chair?
This is supposedly one. This is called Zeta Reticuli.
Here. Is it heavy? Is it like real heavy?
Yeah.
Hoist that up here.
The little guy.
All right. Now, does this pretty accurately represent what we're talking about here?
Quite
more or less. This is pretty.
Well, not color-wise to me, but
well, I was
otherwise,
rock,
yes.
But I mean, otherwise, this is the general configuration of the alien that we're talking
There's different, different species.
Okay. Well, we have lots more to talk about
yes, we
here,
do.
and when we come back, a man who's had a close encounter of darn near every kind.
It didn't happen. It's just a nuisance to us because we've got some good wheat crop trampled down, and there's a danger that more of it's going to be trampled down by people coming to look at it.
Eric Beckyard runs the Museum of Cryptophenomenology, now moving from Malibu to Santa Monica. He's got exhibits on everything from the Loch Ness Monster to Bigfoot and faces on the surface of Mars. Eric has studied UFOs for a long time and has just come back from studying the crop circles in England. Welcome, Eric. Thanks for being here. Well, first of all, what news from England and the crop circles?
What news? They're getting more and more complicated every day. Actually, the season is pretty much wound down because the crops have all been harvested by now. But as the season progressed throughout the 3.5 weeks that I was there, the circles went from strange to strange to stranger. We had some incredible ones that, as you saw, looked like this.
Yeah, okay. That's very complicated. They started out, these crop circles, as sort of simple circles, a little bit random. I've seen pictures.
They did indeed. They started as very simple ones, but then we had odd things called insectograms.
Looks like a big bug.
Down near Stonehenge.
Well, what's the explanation here? Very, very impressive. What are they?
The point is that I believe, my theory is, that these are not done by plasma vortices, they're not done by whirlwinds, they're not done by hedgehogs going crazy or crows, and they're not done by farm boys, because, as you will probably see in one of the tapes that you have, that I and 4 other gentlemen from France and England all went out and cut circles that, or we cut a message that could not be duplicated. It was a cutting that said, "Talk to us." It took us 20 man-hours to do this, and each symbol was 24 feet high.
So the logical explanation for you is that these are UFOs, that extraterrestrials are leaving messages for us in wheat fields in England.
And because they're trying to be, they're being so complicated in doing it, that they're trying to show us that human beings cannot do it.
Yeah.
And that therefore we have to start paying attention to UFOs and UFO occupants and the messages that they are giving us in a code in these fields.
There are some very clever Oxford and Cambridge University undergrads, though, and this, you got to wonder if this is some kind of prank they're pulling.
No, you don't have to wonder.
Well, I wonder.
You can wonder, but I'll tell you this. I'd say out of 100 crop circles, you might have 1 or maybe 2 done by clever undergrads. And their work is usually pretty easily spotted from the air because the work is ragged. Now, National Geographic Television, if I dare mention the name, went and made their own crop circles. And the helicopter pilots and the airplane pilots all said, hey, this one we know that's a fake because it just looks bad. And examine that from the air and from the ground. You can tell. The others have a certain natural smoothness to them and a certain rhythm to them that the ones made by men don't have. Also, it took National Geographic Television guys, it took them about 4 hours with a crew of 4 to do their work, and they were just running rollers. And it's hard.
Okay, now with all due respect, and I don't mean to offend you at all, but why should I or anybody else believe somebody who apparently believes that Loch Ness Monster exists and that Ted Kennedy's face is inscribed on the surface of Mars?
Well, because for one thing, I've also investigated things like Bigfoot.
I've seen those pictures, yeah, I've seen, but that's not proof.
As well as the Loch Ness Monster.
Proof. It could be a hoax. You know what I'm saying. I mean, people hear this and they think you're nuts.
I go around debunking hoaxes. I find hoaxes. And part of the job involves trying to see what it would take to make a hoax. And when it takes more than an hour or two, or any more than just this much brain power, people don't do it, particularly when they're not paid to do it.
Somebody could be paying Oxford and Cambridge University undergraduates to do this. My problem with this is that there's no proof that it's extraterrestrial. I mean, it's nice to speculate,
as a matter of fact,
but there's no proof.
There is. On this program, I believe we have brought, to you to show, an English videotape of a UFO in the crop fields nearby one of the crop circles that is about yay big, silvery, and flops around like this, and it zigzags around the crop, and then flies over a tractor driver whose interview we got. He says it's about 3 feet in diameter. A hill. Just 2 weeks ago, 2 German tourists filmed another UFO of this type in the crop fields, also silvery and round. The farmers and local people have been seeing UFOs at night in the Wiltshire district. They've been seeing large black triangular objects. They've been seeing orange balls that go down into the fields. The next morning, there's a crop circle. And we have stills of this.
Unfortunately, we don't have that videotape, but we do have more show, and when we return, we'll be joined by Stan Friedman and Philip Klass, who are still arguing from our first encounter with UFOs yesterday.